platforms that don't really care about what you think. They just care that you do think. And we appreciate them for that. So if you want to leave us a paid chat over on Rumble, it's called a Rumble Rant. If it's over the $5 minimum, I'll read it on air. If it's a hyper chat over on Odyssey, likewise, $5 minimum, I'll read it on air. But don't let that be the bar for entry, because we frequently read chats that are lower than the $5 minimum if we have time. Who knows if we'll have time today? This is an abbreviated show. I might go a little long. I'll see what Olivia has to say in my ear, although I haven't heard anything from Olivia since I started talking, because what a day, friends, what a day. Okay, let's get into some news, see what we can get to. Let's talk about Niki Ashton. Have you guys heard about this yet? Niki Ashton, one of the most anti-Israel politicians in all of the House of Commons. She's an NDP MP, and she's a firm believer in the fact that socialism is usually for the people and not the socialist, and she's the socialist in all of this. You might remember her from past travel scandals, such as when she went to Greece twice during the pandemic, or at least the government overreaction to the pandemic. She was one of the strongest lockdown and restriction proponents in the House of Commons. But she traveled to Greece twice during the times when they were telling everybody to stay home, close their business, cancel Christmas, and leave your grandparents to languish in an old folks' home, lonely and in despair. She went to Greece twice because her grandma was ailing. And so her grandma, she gets to have a nice visit, and she gets to travel to Greece to visit her grandma. But your grandma, she had to be warehoused away in a nursing home, never to be seen again. So she did that. She's a hypocrite, as so many of the NDP tend to be. But this latest thing is just, it's something else. So Niki Ashton, who rarely goes to the House of Commons, and I don't blame her for this, because we have said that everything can be done remotely now, school, House of Commons, whatever. So she took advantage of that. She rarely goes to the House of Commons. Her riding is in far-flung northern Manitoba. It's an impoverished riding, by the way. I think the average household income, so combined two people working household income, under $60,000. She decided that after not going to work, not finding a way to make it to Ottawa for the majority of the fall session in 2022, wherein she was only in Ottawa for 1 week, so 4 days. The House of Commons breaks on, I think it was the 15th or 16th of December for Christmas. Then Niki Ashton says, oh, wouldn't you know it, I've got House of Commons business to do in Ottawa over the Christmas break. Except it wasn't House of Commons business. She took a family vacation and then charged it all back to the taxpayer. So, and there's no reason for her to be there, like literally none. And this is the Christmas break. Let's go through CBC's article here. It's pretty good. I have my suspicions about who tipped CBC off to this, by the way. I think it came internally from the NDP, because she's seen as a leadership challenger for Jagmeet Singh, who is, I think, starting to annoy some party members. Anyway, on December 21st of that year, Ashton flew from Thompson, Manitoba to Ottawa 5 days after the House of Commons had already risen for Christmas break. Ashton's partner, Bruce Moncur, a former NDP nomination candidate, and their 2 children also made the trip with the MP to the nation's capital. So now we're on a family vacation, don't you see? Then on Christmas Day, the family of 4 traveled to Quebec City. Ashton built, oh, this is nice. She didn't ding us for all of it, just some of it in this case. Ashton billed the Commons for some of the expenses they incurred along the way. Social media, this is beautiful. She didn't even try to hide it. Social media posts show Moncur and the children took in some of Quebec City's winter attractions, including an ice slide and snow tubing, at Valcartier outside the city center. Ashton is also seen in those posts skating with her children and visiting the city's German Christmas market. In an Instagram post, Ashton thanks progressive activists for sharing their inspiring work. The trip cost taxpayers nearly $18,000. An $18,000 family vacation, and this champagne socialist had the gall to ding Canadian taxpayers who are being crushed under the Liberal NDP inflationary policies and increased taxes. They had to pay for this. There are people who can't even imagine a $17,000 family vacation over Christmas. And this champagne socialist who says she's fighting for the little guy, she sticks them with the bill. Now, also, if you pay attention to any sort of politics, you know the NDP cannot shut up about the large grocers in this country whom they accuse of price gouging. Look, I'm not one to defend the Weston family who own Loblaws, but the NDP are so wrong on this issue that I'm defending Galen Weston. Yes, I'm defending Galen Weston because yes, Loblaw is making a lot of money these days. How are they making money? Well, they're doing it on their lower, like their house brand product. So like the yellow label that they have at Loblaws, the no-name brand stuff, that's where people are spending their money. So Loblaw wisely paying attention to the way the winds are blowing in Canada. People don't have any money. Inflation is killing them. They want a good deal on food. So Loblaw pivots, puts a lot of energy into their no-name brand. And people go to Loblaw to buy the no-name brand. So, of course, Loblaw, being good capitalists, are making money on this and paying attention to what the market wants. This isn't good. This isn't good enough for the NDP. So they won't shut up about the large grocers. However, Niki Ashton, let me tell you, she was not eating no-name food on this trip because she billed $1,500. I should correct myself. $1,500 for meals and other incidentals on this trip, this family trip. So we paid for her kids to eat. Now, Niki Ashton didn't ever think for a second that she would have to justify this spending, because she said that she went to Quebec City to discuss language priorities and to, quote, find out things she needs to prioritize. Just things. I mean, I'm just there thinking on the priorities. And she also met with a union person. Who that union person is, it's a mystery. Then for Christmas Eve, they traveled to Montreal for meetings with stakeholders. Sorry, the day before New Year's Eve. They traveled to Montreal for meetings with stakeholders. And again, they were engaging with people about linguistic issues. I can't even imagine thinking that I could get away with expenses like that. I'll have you know, I'm very light on the expenses here at Rebel News. Why? Because I always think the people who donate to Rebel News, our subscribers, if I showed them my expenses, how would they feel about this? Right? I always think that way. I always think like, look, if someone who gave us $50 this year said, Sheila, I want to see your expenses for March, I would have no problem showing them. No problem whatsoever. Niki Ashton doesn't think that way. She doesn't feel the same way about you. But guys, this is not the first time she pulled this stuff, dinging us for her family vacations. Where was the other one? Sorry, May 2023. $10,000 on a family trip to Windsor. What's she doing in Windsor? Her riding is in northern Manitoba. She should only be going from northern Manitoba down to Ottawa and back, but she can't go to Ottawa. That's too much like work. She can't manage to get out of her riding to go to Ottawa, but she could get out of her riding to go to Windsor. $10,000. It was a 6-day trip to Windsor when she also wasn't going to work. She was in Ottawa fewer than 30 days for the first 6 months of 2023 when she should have been working. she went to Windsor. And the reason Windsor is significant is because that's where Moncur, her husband, common law, whatever, they just call her a partner, so, or him a partner. So I'm not even, who puts a label on things these days? Anyway, they went to Windsor where he grew up, went to school and university. They went to visit his family in Windsor, and we had to pay for it. Just the gall of this woman. And while she was there, she crossed the border to talk to Detroit Democrat politician of Squad fame, Rashida Tlaib. So, and her excuse there was, I went to talk about soccer opportunities for the kids in Thompson, Manitoba. Just ridiculous. Now, we know that Jagmeet Singh isn't going to hold her to account. He's just as bad as her at this. And I mean, how can Justin Trudeau hold her to account, right? Because Justin Trudeau charges us for his family vacations all the time. So I'm going to give you an opportunity for you to have your say. I've got a petition, and you can share the petition because it details all her spending scandals and how she's a big fat hypocrite all the time. You can find it at paythemoneyback.com. No, sorry, pay it back. I don't even know my own URL. Good grief, what a day. It's payitback.com. And if you're looking for news on Niki Ashton, it's Niki with 1K. Why? She hasn't found a way to charge the taxpayer for the other one yet. So payitback.com. You can sign the petition, share it around. Make sure everybody knows just how much of a expense account abuser this NDPer is. The NDP used to say they're in it for the little guy. They were anti-poverty activists. While you are struggling to pay over 50% of your income in taxes this year, just remember that Niki Ashton, who makes $200,000 a year plus, stuck you with her family vacations twice that we know of. Will there be an audit? Probably not. There should be an audit, but twice now you paid for her family vacation. And are you having a family vacation this year? I might haul the tent trailer out. That's what I might do. Goodness gracious. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go into what else I was doing this week. It's the holy month of Pride, as you know. Although I think it's Pride season now. Like Lent, we get 40 days. But Pride season is closer to 90. And so if you are not properly deferential to all things rainbow, you'll get yourself a human rights complaint. So this week I spent 2 days covering a human rights tribunal in Ontario. I did it remotely because I'm not like Niki Ashton. I don't want to waste anybody's money flying me in to cover a tribunal. But the Township of Emo, Ontario, population 1,400 people, were dragged before the Human Rights Tribunal by something called Borderland Pride. And Doug Judson, I think is his name. He's a self-described human rights lawyer, for not declaring in May 2020 the holy month of Pride. And it was a long, crazy preamble Pride declaration. And they just said, we're not going to do this. We don't need to. And so they basically are trying to shake the town down and make them pay a bunch of hurt feelings tithes to the gods of hedonism. They want $45,000 out of the mayor and 2 councillors who voted against the Pride Declaration. The entire salary of the entire council, that's the mayor and 4 others, is $33,000 per year. This is a part-time job. Like, the pay is low and the abuse is high. I don't know why anybody would do this job, except insofar as you want to make your community a better place. Like the Mayor McQuaker, He owns a trucking company, down-to-earth guy, employs his 2 sons at the trucking company. He doesn't need this headache. I think he makes $9,000 a year to be the mayor. He doesn't need that money. But yet these hurt feelings extorters want to hold him responsible for not voting for their Pride declaration. On what planet do you think you can hold the politicians to account for the vote they cast, wherein the politician sincerely believes they're representing the will of the constituents? And I will tell you, they did represent the will of the constituents, because since then, the mayor and councillor got reelected. And the third guy just said, this is a headache I don't need. I'm not running again. And who on earth can blame him? Here's the rub. So it's clear the constituents didn't want this Pride declaration, or at least they don't care that it didn't go through, because the 2 were reelected and the one said, what, for $6,000 a year? I'm not doing this. They want the Borderland Pride and Doug Judson. They got a petition together of 17,000 people or 1,700 people to say, oh, you better give us our Pride parade. Only 29 of them lived in the community. But you know who doesn't live in the community? One of the applicants in the case against the town of Emo. Doug Judson doesn't live there. So he has no right, even if we were to consider a declaration and the use of the flagpole a service provided by the municipality, I don't think that there's any responsibility on the township to provide a service for somebody who doesn't live there. How does he even have standing here? Who knows? But this poor town has been just dragged through the mud. But this is what they do. You know, if you can force a Catholic school to raise a pride flag, if you can force a township to do something that they democratically voted down, they can force anybody to do anything. And that's what this is about. And it's just a big shakedown. By the way, after the Borderland Pride launched the human rights complaint against the town of Emo, guess what? You know what they got the next year? Government funding from the Liberals. So isn't that neat? And the money they got is sort of in line with municipalities, 5 times the size. I'm not implying something. I'll let you connect the dots there, but it sure is convenient. Still on the holy month of Pride, or the holy season of Pride. The International Olympic Committee, the IOC, they are saying that they are encouraging media to not use the terms, quote, biologically male or biologically female when accurately describing trans athletes, calling it, quote, problematic language. So you might hear media reporting on the Olympics and reporting the results of the Olympics, and you might never know, unless you looked not all that closely, to be honest, that it was a biological male that defeated the biological women. Cheater, really, in those events. So stay tuned for the wokest Olympics ever. Do we have time for an ad break, Olivia? And we'll just do a little bit of foreign interference stuff, and then I think that'll be it. Just a second, folks, while we key up the ad break. Just another series of catastrophes happening on this big Monday of a Friday.
Association. We currently have one of the most aggressively anti-firearm governments in our nation's history, promoting fear and placing blame like never before. Our rights, freedoms, culture, and heritage, it's all on the line. But we are fighting back. and there is strength in numbers. We work within the law to change the law, to defend competitors, hunters, collectors, and other law-abiding firearms owners. We can get through this. We've done it before, and we'll do it again, if you are with us. Canada's National Firearms Association. Freedom, safety, responsibility.
This report is brought to you by...
On June 15th, Canadians for Truth, in collaboration with Veterans for Freedom, is coming to Legacy Place in Red Deer, Alberta, to present Veterans for Freedom, From Service to Solutions, featuring insights from Canada's military veterans. This event offers a unique opportunity to connect with recent veterans who provide a behind-the-scenes look at the issues shaping Canada's future. This event will feature 6 dynamic presentations by esteemed Canadian veterans. Hear from a former intelligence officer with 30 years of national security experience and an Air Force squadron leader who has served with both the Canadian and British Armed Forces, and others with unique and compelling experience. Their first-hand insights provide a unique perspective on the challenges and opportunities ahead. Visit canadiansfortruth.ca/events to secure your seats. This full-day event features speeches, networking, food and refreshments, and a special evening presentation of Fire and Ice with NHL legend Theo Fleury and Canadian business leader Joseph Bourgault. Don't miss your chance to hear from inspiring veteran speakers, connect with like-minded individuals, and discover what you can do to make a difference. To learn more and to get your tickets to this unforgettable event, go to www.canadiansfortruth.ca/events right now. Seize this opportunity and hear directly from our veterans whose sacrifices, experiences, and commitment to service provide invaluable perspectives that enrich our understanding of the challenges facing our country. Get your tickets today.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to cheer up and lighten up. I know that technical catastrophes can get everybody down, but you know what? I got a good job and I work with great people and I get to talk about things that I care about. So I better get my attitude adjusted here. Olivia, and I hate to put you on the spot, given the sort of morning that you and I are having, but would you mind bringing up the Rebel News store, please? Because it is the middle of June and Adam's Veterans for Freedom ad reminds me that we've got some really great Canada Day, or if you are a David Menzies fan, Dominion Day merch there. And if you want it in time for Canada Day or Dominion Day, so I don't get an angry text message from David Menzies while I'm on the air, head on over to rebelnewsstore.com. We've got new patriotic designs this year. We've got all of your favorites from last year and the years prior, but it is the middle of June. So if you want it, you should order it right now. I'll give you a special coupon code. It's Sheila10 at checkout, and that'll give you 10% off of your order. But order now so that you have your merch in time for Canada Day. And I love the fact that there are lots of Canadian flags on our merch this year. Why? Because the left says that that is a symbol of radical white supremacy, which is absolute nonsense. It is the flag of all Canadians. So wear it with pride and wear it to make the Liberals at the Canada Day celebration uncomfortable. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you do that for me? Please. Anyways, that's rebelnewsstore.com. We've got a special Canada Day inventory there, and you can use the coupon code Sheila10 for 10% off your order. Thanks, Olivia, for doing that for me, and I guess for all the people out there, so that they can get their Canada Day merch in time for Canada Day / Dominion Day, according to David Menzies. Okay, so before we get into some of this foreign interference stuff that I don't think the media is talking enough about, because there's another instance of foreign interference, a little bit more sinister and clandestine than the overt working with MPs for MPs to get elected. This one is a little bit more sinister. But let's show this ad from the Conservatives, from Pierre Poilievre. This is so well done. And it shows what Canada was like before. You know, like I remember having more money after your taxes were deducted. And I remember not having the threat of being forced to turn in my lawfully acquired firearms. And I remember, you know, not having to pay a carbon tax on things and life being more affordable. But it's the social decay. It happened so gradually over the last close to decade under the Liberals that you forget we used to have a nice place around here. This used to be a nice place to live. Some parts of the country, not so much anymore. And the Conservatives have laid that out really well. Let's show this ad.
It's time for a change in this country, my friends. A real change.
It's really good, right? That is really good. I think that's going to stick to him, like the stink of his own policies. I hope it does. It's just incredibly well done. There's nothing there but images, and it's images we all know. Like I know that street in Edmonton. It's right next door to the brand new hockey rink, and that's what you get. You know, and I've recently spent some time on the Lower Mainland for work, and it is like that now. All the roadside pullouts are just turned into homeless encampments on the highway. I've never seen that before in my life. But that's Justin Trudeau. That's, you know, inflation. That's a housing crunch. That's lack of services for the homeless. That's drug legalization policies at work there. That's catch and release criminality policies. That's everything. And it's causing the social decay of Canadian society. And Trudeau did that. All right, let's go into this foreign interference stuff. If you don't know about it, I don't blame you. Because the mainstream media isn't covering it. But you know what? I am going to blame you because you know what? You guys know better. We have smart viewers. You know better than to go to those guys for your news. Right now, well, not today, but this week in the House of Commons, there is committee testimony about a cyber attack that took place on parliamentarians back in 2021, November 2021. This is a PRC, so the People's Republic of China, linked cyber attack that targeted MPs on their MP email accounts, but also in the case of my MP, Garnet Janice, on his personal account too. And nobody told the targeted MPs until the FBI told them. And the PCO, which means Trudeau, so the Privy Council office, those are the chief bureaucrats that work for cabinet. They knew, security officials knew, which means Trudeau was briefed on this, but they didn't tell the MPs who were targeted. They treated it basically like an IT issue instead of a foreign cyber attack by a foreign enemy directed at parliamentarians. And they kept it from them. They would never have known had the FBI not told them. We can perhaps show Olivia the video of James Bazan. That's a good video to show. And I think there was one on Tom Mitch, Conservative MP, testifying that the government had a responsibility to tell them, at the very least, you know, like it's the Liberals, they're not going to protect you, but they could at least tell you so you can protect yourself. They didn't do that. Let's show James Bazan. He's a Conservative MP, and he was targeted by the cyber attack.
So you have, you know, information shared to government officials, national security advisor, who, as we read in the NSCOP report, withheld information from people that should be informed. That information should have been shared with us as individuals as a matter of attack. I think that when you look at the culture that exists within the Government of Canada on how they classify information, how they share information, especially when it comes down to foreign intimidation, and this APT 31 is nothing more than foreign intimidation again, that we have to be taking new protocols in how we deal with it. And so the National Security Advisor has to be a lot more aggressive in making sure that that information percolates through the system. And not just to the Prime Minister, but in this situation where it's involving members of Parliament, caucuses, whether it's through caucus leaders and caucus chairs, that information should be distributed or individuals contacted directly. And I think that, we need to make sure that we don't repeat these mistakes again. And I think that is paramount to our ability to do our jobs.
Okay, I'm going to call Olivia for the Liberal MP, John McKay. Now, John McKay, I don't know how he's still allowed to run as a Liberal. I think maybe he just continues to run as a Liberal because it's a riding where you need to be a Liberal to win. Because I think the Overton window has shifted and he's probably more in line with the Conservatives with regard to his positions on a whole host of things. For example, John McKay is the last pro-lifer in the Liberal Party of Canada. Justin Trudeau said he won't allow pro-lifers to run as MPs, but John McKay has been around since before Justin Trudeau. He says he's an evangelical Christian and he's proudly pro-life. And so, like right now, if that's you don't run in the Liberal Party, but I think he will be able to hold his seat until he dies. He's well liked in his riding. And he has said he was targeted in this Chinese cyber attack. And he is critical of the government's handling of this. But he's John McKay and he's been around since before Justin Trudeau. So he gets to say those things. Let's show this.
Chair, thank you, colleagues. The committee received a chronology of events from CSE. In the chronology, it states that CSIS issued a briefing on the Beijing-directed APT 31 cyber attack to 35 Government of Canada clients as early as November of 2021. I asked the director of CSIS who received this briefing. He has undertaken to provide this committee with a list, but he did say that as a general rule, quote, such a product would indeed be distributed to the PCO, and that would include the National Security and Intelligence Advisor, end of quote, of that of the Prime Minister. So what does it say to you about the fact that as early as November 2021, 35 Government of Canada clients, including likely the Prime Minister's own department, the PCO, were briefed about this cyber attack, but you and every other member of Parliament who was the target was kept in the dark? Whoever wishes to.
Happy to respond to that. I think Mr. Coop, you've hit the core issue. We were not on the distribution list, shall we say, and the protocols at that time, 2 years ago, are frankly found to be inadequate, and I'm hoping that this committee will actually address that issue, because it's not acceptable that we are in the dark for the last 2 years.
Thank God that John McKay is in a safe riding, because the Liberals would put him to a nomination and get rid of him. If not for his pro-life leanings and his honesty about it, but because he's critical of the government's handling of these security issues. They're doing the exact same thing with this as they did with Han Dong and everybody else who was involved in the foreign interference scandal during the commission, where they never informed Michael Chong, the Conservative MP who was targeted out of the consulate. They never informed Kenny Chiu, who is targeted by CCP misinformation campaigns. They never informed Jenny Kwan, NDP MP, even though everybody in the security apparatus all the way up to Justin Trudeau were well aware of what was happening. Why? Because it benefited the Liberals. Speaking of benefiting the Liberals, let's just show this one last final clip. Jagmeet Singh is asked, you know what? I'm happy to see the mainstream media is sort of dusting the cobwebs off themselves, and they're starting to hold the Liberal side of the aisle. That includes the NDP, which are just the socialist caucus of the Liberal Party of Canada at this point. They're dusting the cobwebs off and asking some hard questions. And so now they're asking Jagmeet Singh, look, given that we know that several MPs have been found in a security report to have been colluding directly with the People's Republic of China, why do you continue to prop up the Liberals? And Jagmeet Singh just swing and a miss on this one.
Your conclusion is very different from what Ms. May said yesterday. She seemed relieved yesterday. You say it's worse. Were you reading two different reports?
Well, what I am saying to you is that the conclusion that NSICOP has come with, those conclusions didn't change by anyone's reading of it. The conclusions are still there for the public to read. The conclusions are MPs, plural, were engaged in activities that NSICOP, which is comprised of very, very respectable members of Parliament and other individuals, that conclusion says that the multiple MPs engaged in behavior that is, in some cases, illegal and criminal, and all of the behavior is unethical. Those conclusions that the report has publicly given to everybody, I believe, were incredibly confirmed with further details that I read. So the conclusions are there in front of everybody. I'm saying that I've read the document that supports those conclusions, and in fact, I am more convinced than ever of those conclusions.
Our democracy is at stake here. So why are you continuing to prop up the government who you say isn't taking democracy seriously? Why do you continue to prop them up?
So the question is, what are we going to do about it?
No,
the question
is,
to
why
me,
do you continue to prop up the government when you say our democracy is at stake and this government is not taking our democracy seriously? Why continue to back them up?
we're not at all doing that. What we're saying is we're going to demand answers. We're going to continue to push for solutions. Because we're in Parliament right now, I was able to read these documents. Because we're in Parliament now, we've been able to push for a letter to have the public inquiry also include the Conservative leadership race in a part of the public inquiry's work. We want to use the tools as parliamentarians, as a parliamentarian myself, to use the tools that we have, that I have, to advance democracy. I want to use the tools that I have to get to the bottom of this. The suggestion that an election is a solution to election interference is, I think, a fallacy. What we need to do is use the tools we have to get to the bottom of this. I want to continue to push for more solutions. I want to push for more transparency. I want to push to learn more so we can have better solutions.
What is he even talking about? Why did he hold that press conference? He didn't need to hold a press conference, but he thought that he would go out there and just talk around some very good questions. Credit to the mainstream media there. He tried to reframe the question there, but yes, an election is a solution to election interference in the past election. Yes, it is the solution. Canadians should have the opportunity to know which of their MPs were colluding with a foreign enemy before they vote for them the next time. And they should know which ones were colluding in the past so they can never cast a vote for them again. So that those people can go off into obscurity after a good lap of shame. But no, he doesn't want Canadians to have that. Why? Because this is as close to power as he's ever going to get. That's why. He's willing to sell out Canadian democracy so that he stays close to the levers of power, but also so that he gets that pension, right? They moved the election date by 7 days so that a bunch of MPs who would not normally qualify for a pension, who are likely going to lose their seats, get to qualify for a pension. And so Canadians have to tough it out to make sure that people who already make $200,000 plus a year get a little bit more money in their pockets while you get poorer and poorer and poorer, and our democracy gets more corrupt than it ever was. What a joke that guy is. What an absolute joke. Goes to my theory, though, that I think that Niki Ashton's expense scandal was probably tipped to the CBC by people within the NDP who are trying to protect Jagmeet Singh, because she's sort of the other side of the party. She was around before him, and she's sort of the feminist environmentalist side of the party. I mean, the whole party is like that, but there are two factions within the party, and she's that faction. And if I had to guess, because, you know, the CBC is not always that intellectually curious. They don't often go poking around expenses of people they like. And so I think that her expense scandal was tipped off by the Jagmeet Singh faction of the party, because he's not doing a good job. He needs to make sure that she is not a threat for the leadership. We need to make sure that there's like no leadership challengers who are able to reasonably challenge him. So off you go, Niki. Now, in Sheila Gunn Reid's fantasy football world, you know who I would wish to be the NDP leader to replace Jagmeet Singh? It's going to sound crazy coming from me after writing 2 books about her, but it's Rachel Notley. I would love to see Rachel Notley lead the NDP, because the people who vote for the Liberals, who are like feminists, like go girl power, they would switch from the Liberals to the NDP. She's seen as the most successful NDP politician in a generation because she was able to crack for the conservative stronghold of Fortress Alberta just once for 4 years while simultaneously destroying it. And I don't think she would ever, I mean, if I would love to see her be the NDP leader, because a strong NDP leader benefits the Conservatives. It fractures the progressive vote in two. Right now it's coalesced around Justin Trudeau. It fractures it. And while Thomas Mulcair, while I disagree with him on everything, literally everything, he wasn't a crazy person. He was just a socialist with bad ideas. He split the progressive vote between the Liberals and the NDP, and who came up the middle? Stephen Harper. 10 years of prosperity. So I'm cheering for an NDP leadership campaign wherein Rachel Notley leads the federal party. I know, can you believe it? Can you believe I'm saying it? Anyway, I think that's the show for today. Olivia, do we have any chats? Did anybody bother to stick around and put up with us to send us some chats? Okay, great. Well, for those of you who toughed it out for the duration of the show, I appreciate you so much. Sorry about my bad attitude at the start of the show. I try to be a happy warrior, but, you know, with a sick dog and then technical catastrophes, I was a bit of a Debbie Downer, and I'm very sorry about that. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks to everybody who works behind the scenes, especially in studio. Olivia, you're a champ. Behind the scenes, anybody who makes sure this show is out there for you to click on when you want to watch it. I appreciate them so much. They don't get the accolades that they deserve, but they are as hardworking as anybody at the company. Thanks to all of you who support Rebel News.